You know what? It really would be liking me a pot pie. There we go. Pot pie. Are you kidding me? I can do better than this. Stick around, I'll show you something. Today, we're going to do something you ain't never seen a pie crust made out of in your entire life. We're going to make it out of pork rinds. Yep, you heard me right. Chicharrones. They're going to be good. We grind them up till they're at a consistency of about that right there. Now they offer 3 or 4 or 5 or 12 different kinds of pork rinds that you can buy. These are just the regular. Now when I do it with like a ribeye beef pot pie and I use this mixture, I get the spicy hot ones because it just goes really well. This does pair well with the Yardbird, so it is going to be good. So let's get to it. Now, there's 2 sacks of them pork rinds in here. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1 dose, pinch of black pepper, about that much, and a very little pinch of salt, because them pork rinds got some salt in them. Then we're going to add 1/3 of a cup of flour and 2 more tablespoons. 1 doso. Now you need to mix that all really well together, get it blended. You'd think as dry as them pork rinds is, there ain't no moisture in there. But there is some, I promise you. That's why we got to go back with that flour. Then you got to have a little warm water. There's 1/3, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3 tablespoons more. And we may have to add a little to that for the final thought, but we're going to see about it. This is blowing your mind, ain't it? I can hear you telling the cowboy done lost his mind. A pork rind crust? You got to be crazy. Just a tad bit drier than I want it, because when you go to rolling this out, it ain't like a typical flour dough. It'll crack and fall apart. So we're going to add a little more water to it. We can always add some flour to it to stiffen it back up, but I want it to roll out. I do. We got to have enough water, folks, that we can keep this to a pretty moist consistency to make a good ball. Mash this with your hand a little before you ever get that rolling pin on there. Now this would make a top and bottom crust if you wanted to use it in a 9-inch pie pan. But today we're using them King Tut bowls we used before, that ramekins. Priming myself up to find the rolling pin. Just a little more flour right there on the top. Don't run too hard on this deal because it'll try to crack. We're going to mash it back into place. I'm just trying to get it to about the thickness we want it. 1/4 inch or more. So we're going to place him right there. And then we're going to place him right there. You got to spray this deal or he won't never come out of there, I promise you. Put him right down in the bottom. And then we're going to mash him around till we can get him to come up them sides a little, and then we're going to patch it. We're going to keep it just like we're doing it. I guarantee you, you won't know the difference time you get ready to slap it in your mouth. This here recipe makes about 3 this size. What size is that? I ain't got a clue. I used to have 3 of them till Frank come along, the wonder dog. It's a wonder where it's at now. He carried it off. So I'm just going to put it in this big one and fill up the leftover with that. But make sure you got tops to put on them all. Well, a lot of them folks that use a chicken pot pie is from a baked chicken that is left over, or some of them go and buy one of them rotisserie chickens and chop that up. I just like to take a chicken breast like I did, put it over in that plastic, pound it to break that membrane on there, put it in some foil, season it good, put 2 slabs of butter on it, wrap him in that tin foil, throw him on the grill, let him steam about 4 minutes on each side, and then we're going to grill him. Why do we do that? To keep that moisture. But the grilled and the smoke that it comes off them mesquite coals, it's going to add to this chicken pot pie flavor. Dice them up in little bite-sized pieces, folks. We don't want nobody to think they're getting something bigger and they can't chew. Peel them carrots, slice them pretty thin so they get done pretty quick. Dice up a russet potato. I love to leave the skin on mine. Half a yellow onion that I diced up pretty small. 1 stalk of celery that I diced up pretty small. Throwed it in there. got to combine all this together. A can of cream of chicken soup that I thinned with 1/3 of a cup of water, and we're just going to pour that all in there together. So folks, we're going to set this back on the grill in the hottest spot. We got to bring this back to a simmer. So I'm going to raise this up to the hot cycle. We're going to add just a pinch of black pepper to this. Give it a gentle little stir here. Folks, we're going to add all this diced chicken in there that the beak didn't get. Stir this back up again. And I guarantee you that right there would eat just by itself. It's time to fill up the ramekins. Make sure you get some of all the goodness in there. If my grandson and them was all here, they'd say dip around them vegetables and just get the chicken and put it in there. The assembly line is near complete, but one thing that ain't happened yet is we ain't got this on them. So you want to crimp him just a little so he don't blow plumb off of there when he gets to cooking good and hot. You get to this point, folks, I like to give him a little air hole because that stuff's going to go to cooking and we need it to sort of run out on that crust where it'll be really good. So, Marie Callender, Betty Crocker, Susie Homemaker, let's have some pot pie making, y'all too. You could put this in a conventional oven in there in the house, but Shan won't let me in the house today, so I'm going to cook them in a 12-inch Dutch oven. One there, and one there. So, let's get the lid on this rascal. Let's get it on some hot coals, because it's past lunchtime and I'm hungry. Good layer of hot mesquite coals around the bottom, heavy and heavy on top. Now, why so heavy? Well, these is in a ramekin that's pretty thick, and then they're sitting in that Dutch oven too, so I want some pretty good heat there because I got to get them to cook that crust from the bottom, from the sides, and from the top. The rest of that stuff in there was hot when we put it in it, so if it'll brown that crust on the top and the bottom, we'll be in good shape. We will have to rotate here in a minute. Now, the reason we're using these ramekins today is when my mother served pot pies, most of the time, they were in a little bowl all by themselves. Everybody had one. Folks gonna cook this, they'll just put it in what the recipe was, a 9-inch pie pan. Set it in there, you can cook it that way. In a 12-inch oven, it would work fine. Hear it? That chicken is crowing, could be the rooster even, saying it's done nearly, I bet you. Looky there. You can see that goodness is trying to boil up out of there everywhere. We can get the little rascals out of there without burning my fingers plumb in two. Now, I want Shan to zoom in here. I'm going to show you a reason too. That see these rings that this left in here? It's so hot on cast iron when there's really not nothing. It's getting absorbed from cooking process. Inserts are hard on stuff like that. We'll season this and really good when it cools off a minute. It's real hot, but it is so good, folks. The crispness of that pork rind crust, which has got a little salt to it that you get, but also the flavors of all that combined in there, the carrots, the celery, the onion, the garlic. It is some fine eating. You can do this with probably any meat in the world. You got some leftover stew meat, incorporate that into it. Don't ever throw out no leftovers. Remember, that crust is more like a graham cracker crust that you're going to put on a cheesecake than regular pie crust. So you're going to have to mash it around a little and work with it. We appreciate you stopping by the backyard. It is a great day above the grass, as it is every day. I'm going to have mine. I wish y'all's here. I would share a bite. Reach down there in the bottom. Hit that subscribe button. God bless you, folks. We're going to let it cool. So while we're letting it cool, we'd like for you to meet Frank the Wonder Dog. Frank, look at the people on the TV. Frank, no. And then we could meet this classic hound here, Bonehead the Beagle. Probably the best rabbit dog ever created. And then turn the camera on yourself just a minute.
No, I didn't shower today.
Oh, you didn't shower today.